The electric alarm clock buzzes at 7 as Harold and Mildred Porter wake in their three-bedroom ranch house in Levittown, Long Island. This is 1955 suburban America, and reaching retirement at 65 together in post-war prosperity means experiencing golden years their parents never imagined. Their comfort being built on New Deal programs, corporate pensions, and economic boom that transformed elderly life from hardship to leisure. The bedroom is spacious and private, master suite being revolutionary concept, separate from children who moved out years ago. The privacy being luxury previous generations never knew, the space being theirs alone, comfort being deliberate design. Waking happens without urgency. Harold retired from General Electric last year with full pension. Mildred never working outside home after marriage. Their days being structured by choice, not necessity. Retirement being celebrated achievement, not feared dependency. The house is modern marvel, built in 1948 for $8,000 using GI Bill benefits, now worth $18,000. The appreciation being windfall, equity being security, home ownership being foundation of their comfort. Central heating keeps the house warm. No more hauling coal or chopping wood. Thermostats controlling temperature automatically. The convenience being remarkable to people who remember heating one room with wood stove. Technology being transformative. Indoor plumbing is taken for granted. Hot water flowing instantly. Bathroom being private and clean. The contrast with their childhoods being stark. Modern sanitation being health revolution they witnessed. Improvement being measurable. The kitchen is marvel of efficiency. Electric refrigerator, automatic washing machine, electric stove, dishwasher being latest edition, the appliances being advertised as liberating housewives, the technology being real though the marketing being gendered. Breakfast is leisurely affair. Harold reading the New York Times, Mildred preparing eggs and bacon, coffee percolating automatically, the meal being ritual not rushed necessity, time being abundant commodity, leisure being new normal. The newspaper brings the world. International news, suburban gossip, advertisements for new consumer goods, television listings being prominent, the media creating shared national culture, information being accessible, literacy being universal. Television is centerpiece, the 21-inch RCA console being pride of living room, evening programming being family ritual, the medium being revolutionary, entertainment being domestic, the world coming into their home. Social Security checks arrive monthly, Harold's check being $75, the income being guaranteed, the system being 20 years old but already transformative, elderly poverty being dramatically reduced, security being literal. Harold's pension is generous. General Electric providing $300 monthly, the corporate benefit being reward for 35 years of loyalty, the private pension system being peak of post-war prosperity, middle-class retirement being viable. If you think retirement has always looked like this, wait until you see how new and historically unusual this comfortable suburban old age actually was. What we're revealing today completely changes how you view the golden years. Their savings are substantial. $5,000 in savings account, war bonds maturing, the nest egg being sufficient for emergencies, the security being unprecedented in their family histories, accumulation being possible through stable employment. The mortgage is nearly paid. Only 3 years remaining. The house being almost theirs free and clear. The achievement being significant, wealth building being accessible through subsidized home ownership, the policy being transformative. Their health is reasonably good. Harold having high blood pressure controlled by medication. Mildred having arthritis but managing. Modern medicine being available and increasingly effective. Chronic conditions being manageable, not fatal. Medicare doesn't exist yet. The program being 10 years in future. Medical expenses being major concern. Insurance being private and incomplete. Catastrophic illness being financial threat. The gap being real vulnerability. The neighborhood is entirely white. Restrictive covenants having excluded black families. The segregation being deliberate policy. Their comfort being built partly on racial exclusion. The injustice being invisible to them. Their children visit regularly. 2 daughters married and living in nearby suburbs. 1 son in California. The geographic mobility being typical of post-war generation. Family bonds being maintained through cars and telephones. The grandchildren are baby boom generation. 5 grandchildren under age 10, the kids being raised in similar suburban comfort, the prosperity being extending into next generation, upward mobility being assumed. Morning routine is comfortable and unhurried. Harold showering in private bathroom, Mildred applying makeup at vanity, the grooming being leisurely, appearances being maintained, dignity being preserved through material comfort. Harold's wardrobe reflects prosperity. Several suits, though he rarely wears them now. Casual slacks and sport shirts being retirement uniform. The clothing being store-bought, not homemade. Consumer culture being pervasive. Mildred's appearance is carefully maintained. Weekly hair appointments at the beauty parlor. Cosmetics being regular purchase. Fashion being followed through magazines. Feminine presentation being social requirement. The effort being expected. The morning newspaper brings troubling news. School integration battles in South being headline, Cold War tensions being constant, the prosperity coexisting with anxiety, comfort being real, but security being uncertain. Harold was too old for World War II, serving in home front defense, his younger brother dying at Normandy, the war being recent memory, the victory being foundation of current prosperity, the sacrifice being honored. The refrigerator is stocked, supermarket shopping being weekly ritual, abundance being normal, variety being expected, the contrast with Depression-era scarcity being still remarkable to them, gratitude being real. Breakfast conversation covers plans, today being Harold's Rotary Club lunch, Mildred having Bridge Club this afternoon, their social calendars being full, civic engagement being expected, community being deliberately built. The car sits in the garage, 1953 Chevrolet Bel Air being source of pride, automobile ownership being near universal in suburbs, mobility being assumed, dependence on cars being total. Harold drives to Rotary meeting, the service club being male domain, business networking continuing in retirement, civic leadership being expected of successful men, the gendered separation being unquestioned. The club meets at Country Club, membership being status marker, the facility being restricted to white Protestants, the exclusion being open and accepted, the discrimination being normalized, privilege being invisible to beneficiaries. Conversation covers local politics, school board elections, zoning disputes, property taxes, the suburban governance being white middle-class concern, the issues being parochial, the perspective being limited. The men discuss national politics, Eisenhower being approved, the moderate republicanism being their ideology, the New Deal programs having saved them being now taken for granted while being criticized, the irony being invisible. Communism is the great fear, McCarthy's hearings being recent, the Red Scare being real anxiety, fallout shelters being discussed, nuclear war being possibility, prosperity being shadowed by existential dread. Integration is controversial. Brown v's board being last year, resistance being strong even in North, Harold's views being moderate for his circle, but conservative by later standards, racial attitudes being product of segregated world. Mildred's Bridge Club is female parallel, women gathering for cards and conversation, domestic concerns being discussed, fashion, and children being topics, the separate sphere being maintained, female friendship being valued within constraints. The conversation is carefully managed, politics being avoided, religion being unstated but assumed Protestant, gossip being currency, social standing being maintained through performance, conformity being enforced subtly. Consumer goods are compared, new appliances, furniture purchases, vacation plans, the acquisition being marker of success, keeping up being social pressure, material display being expectation. Afternoon brings leisure activities, Harold working in the yard, Mildred preparing dinner, the gender roles being traditional and rigid, the division being unquestioned, satisfaction being found within prescribed boundaries. Leave your, like if this detailed look at 1950s retirement is revealing how recent and historically specific this version of the golden years actually is. The lawn is Harold's domain, manicured grass being status symbol, the mower being power tool, weekend lawn care being masculine ritual, the suburb being cultivated landscape, nature being controlled and domesticated. Gardening is shared activity, flower beds being Mildred's design, vegetable garden being Harold's project, the yard work being hobby not necessity, the distinction being important, leisure being different from labor. Neighbors interact over fences, casual conversations being daily occurrence, the community being homogeneous and comfortable, everyone knowing everyone, the social control being gentle but real. The neighborhood watch is informal, residents noting strangers, the homogeneity making outsiders visible, the security being partly based on exclusion, the comfort requiring boundaries. Television is afternoon companion, game shows and soap operas being Mildred's guilty pleasure, the programming being explicitly targeted to housewives, the medium being gendered, consumption being shaped by advertisers. Dinner preparation is elaborate, pot roast being typical, multiple side dishes, the meal being production, presentation being important, homemaking being performed art, the labor being invisible. The kitchen is laboratory, Betty Crocker cookbook being guide, convenience foods being incorporated, Jell-O salads being fashionable, the cooking being modern while maintaining traditional gender expectations. The dining room table is set properly, china and silverware being displayed, napkins being cloth, the formality being maintained even when children are absent, standards being upheld, respectability being performed. Harold reads the evening paper, the ritual being daily, the news being absorbed, current events being followed closely, civic awareness being responsibility, information being valued. Evening television is family time, even without children present, certain shows being watched together, I Love Lucy and Ed Sullivan being favorites, the shared culture being created through mass media. The programs are carefully monitored, violence being minimal, sexuality being absent, family values being reinforced, the content being conservative and conformist, controversy being avoided. Advertisements are omnipresent. New cars, household products, cigarettes being heavily marketed, Harold smoking being normal, the health risks being unknown or denied, consumption being patriotic duty. Telephone calls interrupt programming, their daughter calling from nearby suburb, the conversation being brief because long distance is expensive, connection being maintained despite geographic separation. Evening snacks are ritual, popcorn or ice cream being consumed while watching TV, the abundance being casual, the calories being unconsidered, nutrition being unscientific, enjoyment being priority. Bedtime is early, the day ending around 10, retirement allowing full rest, the sleep being deep and uninterrupted by work anxiety, relaxation being genuine, security being foundation. The bedroom routine is private, intimacy being maintained, though less frequent, affection being real, though less demonstrative, 40 years of marriage creating comfort, passion being replaced by companionship. Medications are minimal, Harold's blood pressure pills being only prescription, healthcare being reactive, not preventive, the medical interventions being limited, health being maintained through luck and genetics. Sunday morning brings church attendance, Protestant service being social obligation as much as spiritual practice, the congregation being homogeneous, the theology being moderate and respectable, religion being cultural identity. Share in the comments. Could you have found fulfillment in this comfortable but conformist retirement? Or would the rigid gender roles and social expectations have felt stifling despite material security? The church parking lot fills with new cars, the display of prosperity being obvious, status being visible, equality being performed while hierarchy being maintained, the suburbs being stratified despite appearances. The sermon addresses communist threat, religion and patriotism being merged, the pastor blessing American capitalism, the theology being conservative politically, though moderate theologically, dissent being rare. Sunday dinner is elaborate production, extended family gathering, grandchildren being present, the meal being hours-long event, multiple generations being together, tradition being maintained. The gender division is complete. Women in kitchen preparing and cleaning, men in living room watching sports, children playing separately, the separation being natural and unremarked, equality being unimaginable. Football on television is afternoon feature, professional sports being new mass entertainment, advertising being pervasive, masculinity being performed through spectating, the ritual being national. Grandchildren ask about the depression, Harold's stories being cautionary tales, the hardship being remembered, current prosperity being appreciated through contrast, gratitude being genuine. The comparison is constant. When I was your age being refrain, the improvements being cataloged, progress being undeniable, the past being harsh enough to make present feel blessed. Veterans Day brings mixed emotions. Harold's brother being remembered, the war being justified retrospectively, the current prosperity being attributed to victory, the sacrifice being honored, the loss being permanent. The Cold War creates anxiety, bomb drills being practiced by grandchildren, fallout shelters being discussed, nuclear annihilation being possible, the prosperity being shadowed by existential threat. Photographs document prosperity, family portraits being professionally taken, vacation snapshots being treasured, the visual record creating narrative of success, the performance being real but curated. Vacations are new possibility, automobile trips being annual ritual, seeing America being patriotic activity, motels and restaurants being infrastructure enabling mobility, tourism being middle-class accessible. Last summer's trip to Florida, driving the new interstate highways, staying in Holiday Inn, visiting attractions designed for tourists, the experience being modern and comfortable, adventure being sanitized. Future plans include more travel, retirement being opportunity for leisure, bucket lists being created though not called that, time being abundant, health being adequate, optimism being justified. Medical checkups are annual, the doctor being trusted authority, preventive care being emerging concept, early detection being possible, treatment being increasingly effective, aging being medicalized. Harold's blood pressure is concern, the medication being effective, dietary changes being recommended, exercise being suggested, the management being successful, quality of life being maintained. Mildred's arthritis is managed, aspirin being treatment, heating pads providing relief, the condition being limiting but not disabling, acceptance being mixed with treatment, aging being visible but not catastrophic. Stand in their comfortable living room as evening news plays, understanding that Harold and Mildred's retirement represents historically unique moment, that this combination of economic security, leisure time, and material comfort was new in human history and built on specific post-war conditions. This wasn't natural progression. It was deliberate policy achievement, Social Security and corporate pensions creating security, GI Bill enabling homeownership, economic boom providing prosperity, the systems being consciously built, progress being political. The prosperity was real but selective. White suburban middle class benefiting enormously, racial minorities being systematically excluded, women's opportunities being constrained, the success being genuine but unequal, privilege being invisible to beneficiaries. The gender roles were rigid, men's retirement being celebrated, women's domestic labor continuing, the inequality being structural, Mildred's unpaid work enabling Harold's leisure, the imbalance being normalized. Social Security was revolutionary, transforming elderly poverty from norm to exception, the program being only 20 years old but already essential, the opposition being forgotten, the benefits being taken for granted. Corporate pensions were peak, this being high point of private retirement benefits, union strength and corporate loyalty, creating generous pensions, the system already beginning to erode, the golden age being brief. The racial segregation was policy, government-backed mortgages excluding black families, suburbs being deliberately whitened, wealth accumulation being racialized, inequality being enforced, the injustice being invisible to white beneficiaries. Medicare was still needed, the gap in coverage being real, catastrophic illness threatening savings, the campaign for universal elderly health care being ongoing, the reform coming in 1965, the need being obvious. The next decades brought changes. Women's liberation challenging gender roles, civil rights breaking segregation, economic shifts weakening pensions, the specific conditions enabling this retirement being temporary, transformation being constant. Harold died in 1972, heart attack being sudden, Mildred becoming widow at 72, Medicare having eased medical costs, Social Security widow benefits being adequate, her survival being secured by systems. Mildred lived until 1989, witnessing enormous social changes, seeing suburbs integrate slowly, watching gender roles transform, the world being different from the one she knew, adaptation being required. Their experience was historically specific. The suburban nuclear family, the breadwinner homemaker model, the corporate pension security, all being products of unique post-war moment, the pattern not being sustainable or universal. Modern retirement is different. Two-income families being normal, pension coverage being declining, geographic mobility separating families, the social isolation being greater, material comfort being higher, but security being less certain. Yet their legacy persists, Social Security being foundation still, homeownership being aspiration, comfortable retirement being expectation, the assumptions being created in this period, the influence being lasting. The American dream they embodied, homeownership, security, leisure, prosperity, was real for them, but never universal. The mythology being selective, the reality being complex, understanding being necessary. Which aspect of 1950s suburban life should we explore next? What family dynamics and child rearing were like in this era, or how consumer culture and television transformed American society? Leave your vote below. You've witnessed retirement in 1950s suburban America, understood that this golden age was historically unique and socially constructed, seen that prosperity was real but unequally distributed, recognized that modern elderly experience evolved from this foundation while differing in significant ways. History reveals that comfortable retirement is policy achievement, not natural outcome, that the systems enabling security were fought for and built deliberately. And sometimes understanding how recent and fragile these gains are helps us appreciate and protect them while working to extend their benefits more equitably across all communities.